Imagine waking up in a city where the usual online connections vanish overnight. In Iran, millions are facing just that, a sudden internet blackout in the midst of nationwide protests. But what triggered this wave of demonstrations? And why is the world watching closely? Today, we explore the economic, political, and social dynamics behind Iran's latest public unrest, entirely based on publicly available information. The protests began in late December 2025, triggered by a sharp plunge in Iran's national currency, the rial. According to sources, the rial fell to over 1.4 million to $1, more than double its value a year prior. This sudden drop dramatically increased living costs. Reports indicate that food prices are now roughly 72% higher than the previous year, while overall inflation stands around 40%. The initial demonstrations reportedly started in Tehran's Grand Bazaar, where shopkeepers closed their stores to protest rising prices. From there, the movement spread to multiple provinces, gaining momentum as citizens voiced concerns over basic living costs. Mini rehook. Why did a currency drop turn into nationwide unrest? Experts point to multiple contributing factors. Earlier in 2025, Iran experienced a 12-day conflict with Israel, which, according to public reports, caused damage to infrastructure in several cities. Additionally, international sanctions were reimposed by the United Nations in September 2025 over Iran's nuclear program, adding further economic strain. In December, Iran introduced changes to its national fuel subsidy system. Previously considered among the world's cheapest, fuel prices were raised, and officials announced that prices would be reassessed every 3 months. At the same time, the central bank removed a subsidized dollar-rial rate for most imports, except medicine and wheat, pushing food costs even higher. Taxi driver Majid Ibrahimi, quoted by Al Jazeera, reportedly said, "If only the government, instead of just focusing on fuel, could bring down the price of other goods. The prices of dairy products have gone up 6 times this year and other goods more than 10 times. What started as an economic protest gradually included broader demands. Citizens began questioning aspects of Iran's political structure, with some demonstrating support for Reza Pahlavi, the exiled son of the last Shah of Iran. Publicly available reports suggest that while some Iranians advocate for a return to monarchy, Pahlavi himself has emphasized the idea of a democratic referendum to determine the future form of government. To understand the historical context, it's worth noting that Iran's modern political tensions have deep roots. In 1951, Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh nationalized the British-controlled oil industry, only to be overthrown in a 1953 coup backed by the US and the UK. This led to decades of royal rule under the Pahlavi dynasty until 1979. When the Islamic Revolution established the current government. Analysts suggest that these long-standing political dynamics contribute to today's public sentiment. Could these protests signal a deeper shift in Iran's domestic politics? Publicly available information shows growing dissatisfaction, especially following the 2022 death of Mahsa Amini in police custody, which previously triggered nationwide calls for reform. Protests quickly spread beyond Tehran. According to Iranian news outlets, demonstrations were reported in cities such as Hafshijan and Junkan in the southwestern province of Chahamahal and Bakhtiari, and in Taybad County in the northeastern province of Rezavi Khorasan. While some gatherings were reportedly broken up by local authorities, other regions remained calm. Publicly available information shows that the protests have also gained international attention, with solidarity events held by Iranian diaspora communities in countries including the United States, United Kingdom, Germany, France, Turkey, and Pakistan. The scale of the unrest has prompted a partial internet blackout, which entered its 4th day according to digital monitoring group NetBlocks. Reports suggest the blackout may be linked to measures aimed at controlling the flow of information during demonstrations. Iranian officials have stated that connectivity will soon be restored, coordinating with government ministries and foreign embassies. While initial chants focused on economic grievances, reports indicate a shift toward broader political demands. Some demonstrators are reportedly advocating for systemic reform, and calls for democratic processes have been increasingly visible. Experts suggest that the combination of economic pressure, historical context, and recent policy changes has created an environment where citizens are voicing frustrations more openly than before. According to public sources, the U.S. administration has commented on the situation, noting that Washington is closely monitoring developments. Statements have emphasized the importance of diplomatic solutions and caution in any potential foreign engagement. Iranian authorities have stated that foreign elements may have attempted to influence public sentiment, but information available to news agencies suggests that the protests are largely domestic in origin, driven by economic and social factors. Economic analysts point to multiple stress points within Iran's financial system. Rising fuel and food costs, combined with currency fluctuations, have affected daily life significantly. Reports indicate that government measures to address these issues are ongoing, but immediate relief for households remains limited. Observers note that public dissatisfaction has persisted for months, fueled by both long-term economic challenges and recent policy decisions. Experts also highlight the historical and social significance of public protests in Iran. Publicly available information suggests that previous demonstrations, such as those following Mahsa Amini's death in 2022, created momentum for citizens to express dissent regarding civil liberties and governmental policies. This context helps explain why current protests, while sparked by economic concerns, have rapidly expanded to include political discourse and calls for broader reform. Could this wave of protests lead to long-term changes in governance or policy approaches? While outcomes remain uncertain, analysts suggest that the current situation represents one of the most significant domestic challenges the Iranian government has faced in recent years. Reports indicate that more than 100 security personnel have reportedly died during recent unrest, while opposition sources suggest that the number of civilian casualties could be higher. Exact figures remain difficult to verify due to limited communication channels caused by the internet blackout. Publicly available information emphasizes that analysts are cautious about interpreting early numbers, noting that these events are ongoing and fluid. The economic impact of these protests is also being closely monitored. The Iranian rial has reportedly weakened to over 1.4 million to the US dollar, representing a significant decline from earlier months. Experts point out that this currency fluctuation has directly influenced food and fuel prices, with inflation reaching approximately 40% annually. Many citizens are experiencing the tangible effects of these shifts in their daily lives, contributing to the overall public frustration that initially sparked demonstrations. Historically, Iran has faced moments of social unrest that were catalyzed by both domestic and international pressures. According to historical sources, events such as the 1953 coup that removed Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh and the 1979 Islamic Revolution highlight a pattern where economic, political, and social conditions converge to motivate public action. Today, while the context differs, analysts note that understanding this history is key to interpreting the motivations behind current protests. International reactions have been measured. European countries, the United States, and regional actors are reportedly tracking the situation through diplomatic channels. Public statements stress support for peaceful dialogue and adherence to human rights and international law. Observers suggest that international attention, while significant, has been careful to avoid inflaming tensions and is primarily focused on ensuring that communications and humanitarian considerations are respected. Iranian experts suggest that underlying grievances contributing to the protests include not only economic hardship but also concerns regarding governance, civil liberties, and social freedoms. Historically, and according to publicly available analysis, these factors have coalesced during periods of fiscal instability, demonstrating a consistent link between economic policy, public sentiment, and political action. What does this mean for the average citizen in Iran and the region at large? Analysts note that the situation could shape economic policies, social norms, and even diplomatic relations in the coming months. Monitoring these developments closely offers insight into how local, national, and international forces interact in times of public mobilization. Experts also highlight the role of media and communication in shaping public perception. With internet restrictions in place, information flow is reportedly limited, making it challenging for citizens and observers alike to receive a full picture of ongoing events. International organizations continue to advocate for safe and open communication channels to ensure transparency and accountability, emphasizing that access to reliable information is critical in understanding the broader context. Analysts suggest that the current unrest in Iran could influence not only domestic policy but also the country's position in global economic and diplomatic discussions. With inflation high and public dissatisfaction growing, officials are reportedly under pressure to consider adjustments in subsidies, fuel pricing, and currency management. At the same time, Iranian authorities are publicly emphasizing that they aim to restore stability and dialogue while monitoring security concerns. International observers note that, even under current restrictions, local communities continue to express their views through legal and safe channels whenever possible. Meanwhile, experts point out that Iran's diaspora communities are actively following developments and advocating for peaceful solutions. Countries with significant Iranian populations have reported solidarity demonstrations, cultural events, and discussions to raise awareness of the economic and political situation. Looking ahead, the key question remains: how will Iran balance economic reform, public expectations, and international engagement? Analysts emphasize that thoughtful, measured responses may help address underlying issues without escalating tensions. The evolving situation in Iran serves as a reminder of how interconnected economic, social, and political factors are in shaping public life, and why careful, informed monitoring is essential.